OK, back to the reason we're here today and the impact of drama Adolescence, which tells the story of a 13-year-old boy arrested for killing a female classmate, to the horror of his parents, who discover only too late that he'd been sucked into a twisted online world fueling misogyny. It's a really tricky watch. I watched the last part of it just yesterday and floods of tears, because your emotions are pulled apart by this show. And also, as a parent, you tend to relate to your own family experience, your own children. Jordan, let's start with you. Have you seen it? How did it make you feel? What's your reaction to it?
So, of course, everyone has seen Adolescence, right? I think first things first, you know, it sounds like a bit of a joke. Well, it is a joke, but it also, I think it encapsulates the seriousness side of it. It has made me realise, I'm 32 years old, I've crossed the bridge now. I'm what I would have looked at as a teenager and called officially old. Because when they started going on about, like, emojis and what it actually means and this and that, I'll be the first one to look at my dad, who's like, why are you sending all these weird little pictures of your text? I'm like, he doesn't know what emojis mean. Apparently, neither do I, according to Adolescence. I had no clue about anything that was going on in that show. And I think that shows what you said just there. You just touched on it, Craig, that we actually don't know what's going on. You know, you feel like your kids are safe. They're at home, they're on their phone, they're playing games or they're on apps, and one thing leads to another. There's these layers and layers of content that they're sort of digesting, and I don't think they have the maturity, the know-how, the life experience to be able to differentiate between what is genuine life advice, what certain influencers and big names in the media say sometimes, maybe where they're just trying to be controversial to get views and clicks and stuff. Because for them, that's monetization, that's money. They don't care about how it affects what they're saying to an 11, 12, 13-year-old boy like in Adolescence. He will take that messaging on, and that becomes part of him, where for them it's something they say to garner a few more views, a few more clicks, earn some more money, and that's it done. So I think it was a tough watch. You know, my oldest, my son, he's 6, 7 soon. And I was thinking, wow, in another 5 years, being sat in a situation like that, the fact that it sounds like, oh, it should be a TV show, and it's not. The fact that it is real life and it's way more common, like you said, open a newspaper, there's a different story of it every day. Frightening.
How old are your kids? Sorry.
So my son's about to be 7, my daughter's about to be 6, only a year between them, and my youngest about to be 2.
That's a great thing about the panel, Ian. We've got a broad span of age groups, so your little one is only...
Yeah, he's coming up for 4, yeah.
4, OK. So this terrifies you, this world out there. You probably didn't have to think about it until now.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of still living in... Anyone who's got little kids, I'm sort of hoping and praying that in sort of 10 years' time we're in a position where we've got a much better understanding of this sort of world, and it's all under control a little bit more, and there's, like, laws and regulations around it, and I think there should be, because there has been a shift now to children living their life online, and we might be scared of it, we might not want to be part of it, but it's the harsh reality. Children are online more than they're probably out and about, and it should be policed in the same way. If someone attacks you online, that should be treated the same way. If someone attacks you down the park, it should be treated as seriously. And that's what this show shows us, the impact of that.
I'm almost envious that you guys have got to run up to these kind of issues.
I know,
so we can
yeah.
have these conversations and you can be sort of informed, whereas I'm obviously now at a stage where mine are 20 and 21, and I'm looking back sort of reflecting on how I managed the phone scenario. And I'd say, firstly, whether it's phones, whether it's other people in person, it's not always possible to actually keep our children safe. As much as we put the responsibility solely on our shoulders, and we'll obviously do our best to protect, sometimes people get to them. And I can only imagine, because of the amount of time they're spending online versus the amount of time that they're potentially socialising with friends in person, like that is starting to really tip towards the online sort of, whether you call it the metaverse or whatever it is that they're heading into. I've found it really difficult adjusting to the fact that I can't be the answer to everything, and I don't know how we preempt that, and I don't know how, as friends, I can say to you, don't expect to be the answer to everything, but also try your absolute hardest to try and sort of preempt whatever danger they're going to go through.
Andrew Tate, I don't know if you've heard of Andrew Tate, I'm sure you have. He's going to become the poster boy of this hate and misogyny and violence. Awful human being. I remember when he arrived into our house through one of my kids' phones, and initially it seemed okay. It was about, you know, maybe driving a really nice car and working out in the gym, and then the messages got darker and more evil and more disgusting. It's very hard to turn around to your kid, and Jeff, I don't know, you'll probably get this at the age of your kids, where it's similar, I have 4 kids, to say, you're not allowed to watch that. You have to help them figure it out for themselves a little bit, and thankfully my kids all know this guy's a complete scumbag. And I say that because I know he bloody is. How did you manage that situation, and how do you manage those things in your house?
I love the idea that you're sat at the dinner table having these conversations. It's an open forum. There's no judgment. If you like this person, tell us why you like him. And that I think, is how we successfully navigate societal issues, regardless of who or what they're in relation to. For me, obviously, bringing the boys up on my own, I can't see how, for me, there was anything outside of just two simple options. And that was that I either said you can't have a phone until you're 16, 18. But I obviously, with hindsight, now I'm fully aware of all of the issues that having a phone can bring. Adolescence has reinforced that even more. So that's option one. The other option is what a lot of parents take, which I, in some parts, took, which is to say, all right, you've got your phone, you fit in with your friends. You know, you're not on me every day because you're somehow sort of an inconvenience to everybody else in the playground. You can have it, and for a peaceful life, I probably won't sort of check up too much on what you're doing or you're speaking to. There's times when obviously I do step in, but if you haven't done that every day, then all of a sudden they're like, what? It's my phone, this is my privacy, this is my right, this is my friendships, this is what I want. And I think it's a lot for parents to have to navigate on a daily basis.
And these phones are the pathway. And where that pathway ends up, I'll repeat it again because these statistics are so shocking. 1 in every 12 women will be a victim of violence. 1 in 4 women say they've been raped or sexually assaulted since turning 16. Jordan, those numbers are terrifying. They're awful. They're shocking. How are we going to, as parents, get involved, call people out, try and do something to stop this?
Hearing that is just like the most frightening thing. And it's frightening for both sides, as someone who's got 2 sons, but also someone who's got a daughter. It's terrifying on both sides. And I think the only thing you can try and do is be as respectful and educational as possible when it comes to your kids.
We do, as men, Ian, have a responsibility to step in where we can and where we spot it. I know your little one's only 4, but you have nieces and nephews, I'm sure, or maybe people's, friends' kids. Would you step in and stop them or pick something up on something?
I think you can absolutely step in. I think it's just your role as a human being. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a gendered thing. And I think in terms of understanding sort of misogynistic rhetoric and the misogynistic language used, I think it's quite good to have an understanding of it. Like you said, you didn't understand the emojis and how they were used. And when you look at incel culture, they'll talk about things like black pills and they'll use emojis in certain ways. And I guess maybe as a parent, it's your job to try and learn a bit about that world. Maybe play a bit of Fortnite, a bit of Roblox. If you get half decent, maybe your kids will play with you and you can get the headsets on and either you make them a better person or you just start screaming at French teenagers online like everyone else. So I think it's about educating yourself and trying to get yourself into that space, and then maybe you can step in and have a open conversation, because the minute you say, don't say that, that's not allowed, they go upstairs, they go in their echo chamber online with all the people that say you can say that, and then it's you against them, and that's not useful. So basically, this answer is, I'm saying to my wife, can I play video games more?
Yes, you can.
But ultimately, I'm trying to learn this space, and then you can have a conversation with the knowledge that they have, which is difficult.
Not for 8 hours, Ian. There's other stuff.
7 hours final offer.
7 hours is fine. But do you know, Ian says something really smart there. Saying no is not going to work here, Jeff. You got to have a conversation. You got to provide a counter argument. You got to help them work it out for themselves if you can, right?
It is. It's a conversation where there's no real sort of emotion attached to it, other than the fact that you just want them to maybe sometimes notice that what they've said maybe should be challenged. And let's have a chat about it. And as a result, I think you're not telling them what to say, what to think, but you plant seeds. And then they maybe will look at the situation with a different perspective. And I think that's the best thing that a parent can do, to kind of leave the door open to future discussions. Because if you're a little bit too heavy-handed verbally, then ultimately they're not going to come to you. Nobody likes being judged or told what to do. So they'll shut their ears off to you if you keep communicating like that.
One man who is seen as a role model is Gareth Southgate, and he said recently, as one mother told him recently, one of the most impactful things we can do for women is to focus on improving young men. Maybe that's how we stop this.